Hello and welcome to Dugout Debrief. I'm your host, Chris DeLuca. This is Boom Broadcasting's one, first, and only baseball-centric podcast, and it is New Year's Day as the time of this recording. Last week, we recorded on Christmas Day at the halftime of the Steelers' embarrassment against the Kansas City Chiefs at Heinz Field, and today we are recording on New Year's Day evening, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to warn you at the forefront here, because I'm always very transparent here on this program. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter show. It's New Year's Day. I want to relax. I want to get some rest, maybe go hang out with my friends for a little bit longer. And I got a day off, so I'm just trying to kick it back. But I definitely want to make sure that I'm feeding you guys the best quality content here. And the other reason is there actually wasn't a lot of acquisitions, if I'm being totally honest with you guys. There were two major ones I'm sure you guys saw in the news, but we'll be talking about that. We'll do a quick little breakdown of the two gentlemen who got paid a decent amount of money, one more than the other. But with that being said, we're going to go start with the news of this week. And the Arizona Diamondbacks paid said gentleman we are discussing. Corbin Burnes signs with the Diamondbacks for 6 years for $210 million. And this was not on my bingo card for 2025, if I'm being honest with you. Really did not expect him to go to Arizona, but they now have a pretty solid rotation with him, and Zach Gallen are a pretty good two-head monster. I mean, Gallen did have a down year, but the Diamondbacks still have a lot to prove. They made the World Series, but they're like any smaller market team. They have a lot to prove. Don't forget about Merrill Kelly either. He has a house out in, I think, Scottsdale. I know he's living out in Arizona, and that played a major factor. He did not re-sign with the Orioles, which was kind of the way it was trending. There are a lot of teams that were throwing money at him. A lot of bigger teams were throwing money at him. I know the Mets threw money at him. He turned both of them down. And we're actually going to be talking a little bit about the Orioles, because this signing really kind of made me think about, like, what the heck is going on. But we're going to get to the Orioles when we get there later here in the show today. But I think it was a good signing. I mean, obviously, really good signing the Diamondbacks side. Obviously, a good signing on Corbin Burnes' side, because he's getting paid. The Diamondbacks have a good arm. They're trying to compete in that division. I respect that. I mean, every team in that division is competing except the Rockies, and we'll get to the Rockies here in a few weeks. I have a similar team in the NL East, which is our breakdown this week. That's kind of going in a Rocky-esque direction, if that's the verbiage I should use, but. Corbin Burnes, Diamondbacks, I think they're going to compete. I think that they're definitely going to get at least 5 wins out of him, if not 10. I mean, like war-wise. I mean, record-wise, better, but war-wise, I think they add at least 5. And record-wise, I mean, he'll definitely crack 15 as long as he stays healthy. I project him about 17 wins, and I think he'll hang around his normal career average when it's ERA-wise mid to low 3s, high 2s. I mean, he had a 2.92. He went 15-9 this year. Had that fantastic year in 2021 with Milwaukee, 2.43. Yeah, I mean, Burnes is a great player, and I think it's going to work for both of them. I think Diamondbacks could definitely get back in the playoffs, get back in the dance, and hey, maybe make a run again. That will help out. That being said, we're going to go move on to the other man who got paid, not as much, but Teoscar Hernandez signs with the Dodgers. He re-signs with my Dodgers on a 3-year deal for $66 million. And I think it was a good deal overall. And I think that the Dodgers definitely won that, in the sense that he probably could have gotten a lot more money, but Teoscar Hernandez wants to compete, and I respect that. And I think that he could have gotten more money at a team that's not exactly in a position like the Dodgers are right now to compete, but he wanted to stay in LA. He seems really happy there. Him and Shohei are really good friends. And I love it. I really love it. I mean, he's a solid batting third to batting fifth guy. You can even put him at the bottom if you need to. There was a few times in the playoffs he was down there around 7, and that's probably where I'd stick him. I'd stick him anywhere between 5 and 7 in the batting order. He's going to be really good this year. He's going to continue to be a very, very consistent player, like he was in Houston, like he was in Toronto. But another overall relatively consistent career player up until last year, Paul Goldschmidt signed with the New York Yankees for 1 year, $12.5 million. And obviously it's not going to be like his 2021, and that's okay. Yankees got what they needed. They needed a first baseman. I think that this might mean that they're out of the picture when it comes to the Pete Alonso sweepstakes, but never too early to say. But they had a power bat. Maybe they can replicate that 2021. We'll see. And finally, when it comes to signings, there was not very much this week. And with my luck, Pete Alonso will pick a destination at 12:01 p.m. on Thursday, and I've already recorded this. That'll be my luck. But finally, Trevor Williams signs with Nationals, 2 years, $14 million. Another interesting Nationals signing. We're going to be talking a little bit more about the Nationals here in the future, probably next week or the week after, depending on how we pace all this out, guys. So, like I said, we're going pretty quickly through this show today. That's all the signings of the day. And if you have any other suggestions when it comes to segments on the show, please let me know. There just really wasn't much news. I mean, it was very news heavy last week and holiday season. That's kind of what it does. But Corbin Burnes, Paul Goldschmidt, and Teoscar Hernandez, and Trevor Williams as well, all get a good Christmas paycheck. So, Baltimore Orioles, we're going to talk about you guys. I'm sorry. What are they doing? What is Baltimore doing? They are consistently finishing either 1 or 2 in the hardest division in baseball, arguably the hardest division in baseball. And they are competing and then bowing out in the playoffs every year. And yes, there are holes, but why aren't those holes being filled? They need to be getting filled. They have done absolutely nothing this offseason, and they continue to make the argument that's like, oh, we have this farm system, we want to hold it together. Those farm system guys are now mostly adults, and now you have a full new set of prospects. You have the 3rd-ranked farm system. Why aren't you giving one of these guys up? You have the number 1 overall pick from 2 years ago, Jackson Holliday, who struggled in the major leagues, but has shown that he has a lot of raw talent. He did struggle, but again, he's young and he just came out right out of high school. I mean, right out of Stillwater High School in Oklahoma. Trade bait. I really think that they could trade him. They could get something for him. They're comfortable when it comes to prospects. They could maybe give up Kobe Mayo or Samuel Basallo. I mean, someone for a major piece. They should have re-signed Corbin Burnes. They struck out with that. They should have went and maybe even tried at Juan Soto. I think that they could have made a valiant effort at him because if you think about it, he is really good and he wants to be on a good team. And now he's on a really good New York Mets team. But I don't get what Baltimore is doing. I feel like they're just content with the first-round exits every year and just making the argument that they're still a young team. But you're going to have to pay these guys soon. I mean, you have arguably the best young roster, but these guys have been up now 3 years. I mean, Adley Rutschman is fantastic. Gunnar Henderson is fantastic. Ryan Mountcastle, fantastic. Cedric Mullins, fantastic. So many great players, yet such a good farm system. And maybe it's time to give up a little bit to get more and finally get over that hump, get a playoff series win with this team, because this team's not going to be around forever because the owner doesn't seem like he really wants to spend money. He has a copy of the Magna Carta, or he has the original Magna Carta, I think. He bought the Magna Carta, which I thought that was the most random thing. I got a notification on my MLB app. It's Orioles owner buys the Magna Carta. I was like the one from my college, American history classes. Okay, or not American history, world history classes rather. Because Magna Carta was UK. And with that being said, with a random little tidbit about the Magna Carta, we're going to go move into the NL West breakdown. We're not even 10 minutes into this. Like I said, we're kind of trying to move it slow, but I'm trying to just give you good content. The Mets, we're going to break them down first. The Mets have had a fantastic offseason. They got the aforementioned Juan Soto on a great deal. They re-signed Sean Manaea. They got Frankie Montas back, and they're still working. I mean, maybe they'll get Pete Alonso back. I thought that they were going to get Corbin Burnes, if I'm being honest with you, but that didn't end up working out. I mean, Alonso might be willing to come back there. Juan Soto has a way with doing that. I was actually kind of figuring that Teoscar Hernandez might go there too. But I think the Mets still need to add a lot of people. I mean, they do have Brandon Nimmo, Juan Soto, Sean Manaea, Francisco Lindor, and Kodai Senga, who when healthy is fantastic. Francisco Lindor would have won the MVP in pretty much any other year except Shohei Ohtani decided to be ballistic this year. And what what they need is hard, because if Alonso leaves, they'll need a first baseman, maybe an Anthony Rizzo, or if you want to go for pitching, you go for Flaherty. I mean, Flaherty's still on the board. Nobody's talking about him. I don't think they're going to go experiment with Max Scherzer again, because he's still a free agent too. But Flaherty had a bounce back year with the Dodgers this year, and it really wouldn't surprise me if he wants to sign with another contender if he does not return to the Dodgers. I'm conflicted to make a prediction here, because while they have a very, very good roster on paper, that division's still really good. There's going to be games in May, June, July even, that Phillies take 3 or 4. Hey, the Marlins, we're going to talk about them in a little bit. Marlins might go take 2 out of 4 from them, and those division losses add up. And then all of a sudden, you're sitting here, it's middle September, last week of September, you're sitting here, you may have 80 some wins, but you're still sitting in third place because you have 2 really good teams also competing, Atlanta and Philadelphia, which we'll be talking about next week on Dugout Debrief. But like I said, a bit of a shorter episode this week. I don't know. I thought about this for a long time. I really did. I sat down, and I think they're going to have the same record as the Phillies last year, but I think the Phillies might either be a little bit less than that. They didn't really lose or gain anyone necessarily. Everybody in that Phillies team is still there. They're still just as electric. 95-67. Yeah, that's what I went with. I think they won 95 games. I think Soto adds those, because I think, what did they win? 86, I think, last year in that NLCS run. I think this will definitely add the difference. Simply if you just look at his WAR stats, that will add it as long as he stays healthy and he maintains the consistency that he had with the Yankees and with the Padres. And with Washington, by the way, which he was on Washington. A lot of people forget that. He's kind of bounced around, but the hottest commodity since Shohei Ohtani signed with the Mets. And by the way, I just think that it is freaking insane that in back-to-back years, we have had generational signings. We have had signings that broke the sports world, not just the baseball world, but the sports world in back-to-back years. Shohei Ohtani got the Dodgers last year, and then this year, Juan Soto going to the Mets. But like I said, 95-67. And I think they get first place or second. I think it's a coin toss. I think the Phillies will stay just as good as they were, if not better, because they are a very well-run organization. Rob Thompson is a pretty good organization on his hands. So we're only talking about 2 teams this week, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to go talk about the aforementioned Colorado Rocky-esque team, the Miami Marlins. Not much is going on here. Not much is going on here at all. They have the 15th ranked farm system. There's nothing really flashy that's there. Thomas White's stats look good, but he's still young. He's got a long time to develop. Max Meyer, Minnesota Golden Gopher Max Meyer came up and he started 11 games this year. He looked up and down. He was solid, but again, a raw prospect because these guys are so young. And this is the conundrum that a lot of teams like the Marlins end up running into, is that they'll rush these guys up because they feel like they need to be getting wins now to put people in seats, to get people to the games, get people buying merchandise, to be back in relevancy. You bring these guys up and then they stink and you kill their confidence, then you got to go put them back down. So got to go move them back down to the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. But there's also a guy named Noble Meyer. I actually don't know how you pronounce that, to be honest with you. He's only 19. He has a lot of work and to do development-wise before he's ready. He's only 19. I think he came out of high school. I could be wrong. And the biggest thing that frustrates me about the Marlins, now we're not making this the Marlins hate show of Dugout Debrief. We're just pointing out obvious issues with this team. I don't know what this organization's doing. They fired Kim Ng, first female general manager in MLB history, brought them to the playoffs in 2020, and was seemingly undoing the damage that Derek Jeter did when he completely destroyed the team when he bought it. And then they got rid of her. And I don't really like that. Yeah, by the way, remember the Marlins made the playoffs in 2020? So fun fact about the Marlins, they have made the playoffs 3 times in their existence. And they've been around since 1997. Or no, 1994. Yeah, they're the earlier expansion. Tampa was later. Yeah, 94, sorry. 3 times they made the playoffs. Up until 2020, 2 times before 2020. Both times they made the playoffs before 2020, they won the World Series. So that's the most Marlins thing ever. That's why I kept joking in 2020. Happy it didn't happen because, Dodgers won the World Series. But it would have been the most Marlins thing ever for them to win the World Series that year. 3 times and win all 3 times and then be atrocious. But firing Kim Ng was terrible. Outside of 2020, it's been a downward spiral since Derek Jeter tore the team apart, trading away names like Stanton and Christian Yelich. All of them are gone. They have not signed, traded, or done anything notable this offseason. I looked at their transactions just to be sure I didn't miss anything before I recorded this. And nothing. I really feel like a lot of people are leaving. It's like whenever people get kind of good. I mean, Brian De La Cruz, he's up in Pittsburgh now. I'm excited to see him play. Luis Ariz, that average king, is having a pretty big tear in San Diego. And outside of 2020, I think it's been a downward spiral for this team. I mean, what do they have? They have Sandy Alcantara. I really, really think they should trade him while his value is at the highest as opposed to when it's at the lowest because it is trending downward. He won the Cy Young in the year 2020 and just wheels completely fell off this year. I mean, it was injury riddled. He went 7-12 with a 4.14 ERA in a very, very injured season. I think that they should trade him, get some value out of them because they really need to get a lot of prospects. They need to deal up that farm system. They need to build. And I think a team that maybe develops a little bit better would like a Sandy Alcantara because he's established, but he's still a raw talent. Again, he won a Cy Young, and that Cy Young was dominant. Like people forget. I mean, again, it's in the Marlins. That's why I feel bad for him. But hopefully he can find a home somewhere else at some point, and then the Marlins in return can get some good players for that to develop them in the long term. So good prospects. Jesus Sanchez had some solid games this year. Xavier Edwards, I saw him play in Durham. He was a former Durham Bull. Got a lot of speed. And the pitching's terrible. I mean, outside of him, geez, who's the number 2? I think it's like Ryan Weathers, I think. Max Mayer might actually be the number 2, who we talked about just a little bit earlier in this segment. But yeah, I mean, my prediction, it's a little bit bleak, if I'm being honest with you guys. I think they're going to go 58-104. I think they're going to lose 104 games, but they could top at 110. Their worst ever year was in 1998, where they lost 108 games. That was early. That was the year after they won the World Series because they won in 97. So they had the worst year after they won the World Series. But it could definitely be at 110, but I'm going to go say, just to make a random prediction when we look back at this, because we're going to do a recap of this, by the way, next November, probably, or somewhere around there, henceforth. 58-104. That being said, we're about 18 and a half minutes here. I'm probably going to cap around 20 or so today because I'm going to kick back. I'm going to relax. I'm probably going to go to bed pretty early tonight, being honest with you. So it's time for our trivia question. That's what we're going to cap off with on this fine Thursday afternoon or Wednesday night, if I'm being honest with you. So last week we were continuing my trend of trivia questions relating to 2-sport athletes. I do have to admit that does end this week. I'm sorry. We might touch base on that again. With that being said, 2-sport athletes in honor of the Steelers playing on Christmas Day. Why did I write that last week? What team drafted Russell Wilson? What team drafted Mr. Unlimited? So Mr. Unlimited did not look very good this past Wednesday last week, but we'll be all right. We'll survive. So yeah, you may or may not get this. A lot of people know him with one team if they do follow baseball/football. He was drafted by the Colorado Rockies, but he was traded to the Yankees. He made a spring training at the Yankees too. It's kind of a promotional thing, similar to that Will Ferrell playing 9 positions for 9 teams one day thing, I think. But drafted by the Rockies, played for the Yankees. If you said either, I gave you full credit, to be honest with you, or at least 99.99% credit. He played for the Tri-City Dust Devils and also the Asheville Tourists out in Asheville, North Carolina. So, yeah, Russell Wilson, minor league baseball and a Super Bowl winning quarterback and Steelers quarterback, has having an interesting year, to say the least. With that being said, we're going to go move on to next week's trivia question. It's a pretty simple one. What is the oldest active ballpark in the MLB as of 2025? And I think you guys basically have a 50-50 shot. We know the most legendary ones. Fun fact, the fourth oldest one, I believe fourth, yeah. Closed, because Coliseum was that fourth ballpark. Now the A's are playing in Sacramento. And it was funny. I saw this tweet earlier today, and it was like, what are they going to do in MLB The Show? Is it going to be like Shipport Stadium or whatever? Because if you guys play MLB The Show, you know they don't have actual minor league ballparks. It's just random auto-generated ones. And someone was joking, saying, what are they going to go play in one of these like auto-generated ballparks, like with the River Cats plan or what? But yeah, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't have much to talk about this week. I want to thank you for understanding me having a little bit of a shorter episode this week, but we'll be back better than ever next week, I promise you. And just like everyone else, make sure to tune in to Quick Hits. Make sure to tune in to Sideline Savants. Make sure to tune into the Gridiron Address that will be every Sunday except the one before last. We will be on this week. We will be talking football. We got a lot to talk about. It's week 18. Apparently, I'm a co-host now. Aaron decided I'm a co-host. I don't think that was good. I don't think that was a good idea. You know, maybe not the most responsible thing to do on Mr. Aaron's side. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the best up-and-coming sports YouTube channel and social media outlet on the internet, on everything. I hope you guys have a very, very happy new year. I hope you had a happy holidays. Thanks for tuning in.